So welcome to the July Intermediate Sampler for Close to Home in Southington. This month's block can be picked up on Friday, July 8th after 10 o'clock. Bring in your June Twister block completed to get July's kit free. We will be having July's block in person this Saturday morning, July 9th from 9:15 to 10 o'clock, so please join us. Of course, we have new classes forming now. You can sign up online or come into the store. There's the Sew Together bag, Summertime Table Runner, AccuQuilt Go Party. We have Embroidery Club, Sewing Club, and Mastering Your Machine. So I hope you'll sign up for some classes. So let's take a look at the paper piecing block for July Intermediate. So we start off with 11 pieces to paper piece, starting with the center, moving from 1 to 2 to 3, and we'll go around and we will get pretty far in the paper piecing process. These blocks are finished at 5.5 inches, and that's the beauty of paper piecing. You really can make your blocks any size that you want. So you're given the blocks finished at 5.5, and the dashed line around your pattern will be 6 inch. I'm adding these little 1-inch finished sashings between each of the 4 blocks with a little 1-inch center point in here. So we'll get through the paper piecing, show you how to tear off the paper, and then we'll just kind of go over how to put the blocks together. Pretty simple. It's a combination paper piecing and just regular 1/4-inch piecing. So a lot of parts. Let's take a look at the kit. So for July, for the white fabrics, they're going to be in positions 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. So the first row, you're cutting 3 inches, 3 inches, and each of these are 3-inch square, cut on the diagonal once. The next 2 strips that you're going to cut are 2 1/4 inches wide, and you're going to form rectangles by cutting this one 3.5, 3.5, and again on the second row, and then you're going to cut 4 2 1/4 squares, and that's all out of the white. Moving down to the blue, they will be in positions 4 and 6 on our foundation paper piecing paper, and we're going to go ahead and cut 4 2 1/4 inch strips. The first one's going to be cut 5.5 inches long, and the second piece in that strip is 3.5 inches. Same with the green. They are in positions 8 and 10, and your instructions will tell you all this, of course. 4 strips at 2 1/4 inches wide. The first one is going to be a rectangle at 6 3/4, and you're going to make 4 of those. And the next one in that strip is going to be cut a 5-inch rectangle by 2 1/4. And then somewhere over here you're going to have some extra green. All you want to do is cut yourself a 1.5-inch square, and that's your little center piece that goes in the middle. Also, that's for piecing. The dark purple is also for piecing. 4 1.5-inch strips of the dark purple, and these are all cut 6, and those are cut perfectly 6 by 1.5 because they are piecing. The rest of these pieces are all pretty much oversized. Okay, don't forget the multi-floral, sorry. That's our very first position, 2.5, and we're just going to get 4 2.5-inch squares. Okay, but yes, all those pieces are exaggerated to fit the paper piecing, and then we're going to trim. All right, so what are the tools we're going to need for paper piecing? Well, most importantly, you need to make copies of the pattern onto 4 pieces of the Carol Dokes foundation paper in your copier. Please, please, please make sure that you measure your copy, that the inside lines are 5.5 for the finished and the outside lines are 6 inch, all right, for the seam allowance. You will also need an add a quarter ruler, which I'll show you in a second. This is a great set. It's a plus size, so it's a little wider. Hold your pieces and your fabric down while you're trimming. Also has a 6-inch ruler and a 12-inch ruler in it. So I highly recommend getting the combination pack if you don't already have it. A couple other things. You're going to need some sort of adhesive glue just for position number 1, which is the multi-floral, to hold that onto our foundation paper. So it only happens on each of the pages, on each of the foundations one time for position 1, but very helpful to get started. You don't need pins or anything. You're going to need some kind of cardstock, maybe a Capital One invitation in the mail that you won't be using. This is a great straight edge, nice and heavy, thin piece of cardstock. You can also use template plastic as long as it has a very straight edge. It's going to work perfect. If you are coming on our shop hop, you can use the postcards for the shop hop, and if you don't have anything like cardstock, we have something we can give you if you ask us. Thank you. And then the last thing is an open toe presser foot. So you can see the front of the foot has no metal in the front of it where the needle is going. So you can see the line that you're going to be sewing on. So in Bernina's World, it's your number 20 foot, and other manufacturers have open toe feet. And if you don't have one, just ask. I'm sure we can get you one. All right, let's get started on paper piecing. Oops, it's not even on. Okay, so the first thing I did was I took copies of the pattern, and I've located the numbers and the fabrics on each area. So we're going to start with the number 1 floral, then we're going to add the white, number 2, then the white, number 3, then the blue, the white, and keep going in order, the blue, the white, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, so 11 pieces on this. This is only one pattern. You don't have an A and a B that you need to sew together. It's just one piece. You're going to make 4 copies. We're going to do it 4 times, but for the video tonight, I'm just going to do the 1 copy. All right, so make sure that this solid line from outside solid line to solid line is 5.5, and I'm not too concerned with this. It should be 6. But we will be cutting it on the dashed line, so that should be 6, and between the solid 5.5. Again, finished 5.5. All right. So the first thing we want to do is actually hold our paper. This is the right side of our paper, and obviously the wrong side. So we're going to be sewing our pieces to the wrong side as we sew on the lines on the right side. So we're going to keep flipping it back and forth. The first piece we want to put on is position number 1, and that is the multi-floral. So we're going to take the multi-floral square, position that multi-floral wrong side to wrong side, right in the position where that multi-floral is. So if I hold this up to the light, you can see that the multi-floral fabric, can you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can see that the multi-floral fabric is at least 1/4 inch all the way around the number 1 position. So what we're going to do to adhere this first piece is just put a little bit of glue on the wrong side of the paper in position 1, and that will stick our fabric to it. All right, so let's do that. I have Roxanne's glue based it. It's called Dip and Dab. So it just comes out, has a little applicator, and I'm just going to put that right in position 1 and go ahead and put my piece right back down. Basically, that's it for position 1. So from now on, we're going to cut, we're going to sew, and then we're going to press. All right, so how do we cut? Well, we have our add a quarter ruler in our cardstock right here. So we're going to flip this over, and we're going to put the cardstock on the lower number, and we're going to flip the higher number on top of the cardstock. And that's the same thing throughout the entire process. So here's my number 1 and here's my number 2. I'm going to put the edge of my cardstock on the line that separates 1 and 2. I'm going to put the card on the 1 and flip over the higher number. All right, so that's right up against the edge of the cardstock. This add a quarter ruler has a little bit of a gripper, a little bit of an edge to it. I don't know if you can see it, but that is going to hold the cardstock and the fabric in place while we trim our 1/4 inch. All right, so put that down, lay that right against the edge, nice and snug, and add a 1/4. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is add number 2. Number 2 is our little white piece. So I'm looking at number 2, and again we're going to pin this to make sure that it's correct. So I'm going to put it right up against my raw edge to raw edge. Now it might go this way or it might go this way. I'm not sure right now, but I know it definitely goes up against the raw edge between 1 and 2, because this is going to be sewn and then flipped over. So we got to make sure that this is going to cover position number 2. So what I like to do is take a couple pins. Yep. Right here. Thank you. We're going to take a couple pins and we're going to place it right on the line between 1 and 2. This is our sew line, and as long as the pins are here along the sew line, I should be able to flip up that white fabric and have it cover the entire section of the number 2. So let's hold it up again to the light. Now that I've pinned it on my sew line, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my white and flip it up and hold it up to make sure that it covers 1/4 inch and goes up to the dashed line and covers all the sides by 1/4 inch. A little higher. How's that? All right. So that's pretty close. I can live with that. All right. I mean, it's a little wide over here, but that's okay. I have 1/4 inch. It goes up to the dashed line, and I definitely have a little extra hanging over on this side. So we're gonna sew. All right, come on over to the sewing machine. And did you unplug me? I think that, could you hit the... Sorry. All right, let's get this. Hold on a second. Let's see. Get our open toe foot on. Okay. Nope, not yet. Hold on. Wait. Yep, it's on. All right, so we got our open toe foot on. We want to make sure that our seam, our stitching goes right along. Let's flip this back. Goes right along. Keep that together. Right sides together, of course. We're going to flip it over and sew from this side. So because we want to sew right along this line where my pins are, we need to start sewing about 1/4 inch beyond the line. Okay, it's just like regular sewing. You want to always start at the edge of the seam. So we'll go ahead and put our foot there. And I want to turn my stitch length down to about 1.6. And then I'm just going to go ahead and sew right on that line. Don't sew on your pin. And then we want to extend, go beyond the line by 1/4 inch. All right, so we've sewn from here right along the line from here. The next step is to press. So we cut to get ready for the new piece. We positioned the piece, pinned it, and sewed it, and then the last thing to do is to press it. All right, so number 2 is done. Let's keep going, and I'll go a little bit faster. Next thing I want to do is put on piece number 3. Here is my number 3. The cardstock goes on the lower number between the two numbers, 2 and 3. So I'm going to place my cardstock on the line between number 2 and 3. I'm going to put 3 on top. That's got a little bit of a seam there. That's okay. Wow, got a lot of thread. Sorry. All right. Going to take our add 1/4. Going to put it right up against that cardstock, and we're going to trim off the excess. We're going to take piece number 3, which is a white rectangle, which is right here. We're going to put them right sides together. Now, does it go over here or over here? Well, my pins will tell me. I'm just going to position it pretty much in the center. I think I can go over just a scoop more. Line up our raw edges where I trimmed. Flip it over and put my pins in here. Now, when I hold it up to the light, I'm going to take my number 3 piece and I'll pull it all the way back, hold it up to the light to make sure that it covers the entire area. So it's wide enough around here, it's beyond the dash line here, and it definitely covers up to the dash line here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and sew. So come on over. Put this back down, flip it to the front, and we're going to start sewing in the number 4 area because we want to make sure we go beyond the line 1/4 inch. And we're going to come right onto the line and continue into my seam allowance. Okay, and we're going to press. Right? Okay, so we're going to flip it to the back, use our iron, and press it down. Okay, we're ready for number 4. So we put our paper down. We're going to put our cardstock on the lower number, which is number 3, the line between 3 and 4. So the line between 3 and 4 is right here. Cardstock edge goes right on that line. We're going to lift up, put that add 1/4 right up against our cardstock, and trim. And we're going to add number 4, which is the short blue. Okay. Keep going. Raw edge to raw edge. And we'll pin just to make sure that it covers. This is the line between 3 and 4. Here's 3, here's 4, so this will be the line that I'm sewing on. So I just want to put a pin to pretend like I'm sewing, but I don't want to rip out, so I just want to test it first. So let's go up to the light. I'll pull back my blue where the pins are, pretending that it's the seam. I'm going to hold it up to the light to make sure that it covers the entire 4 area. So it covers here, along here, and over to there. So it's good to go. Okay. We're going to push that right back. Flip it over. Remember, start our line of stitching 1/4 of an inch beyond the area, and then we go stitch right on the line. Pull out my pin as I get to it and go right into that seam allowance. All right, and then I want to show you one more because it's the triangle. All right, and then we press. So we are ready for number 5, the white. So I had you cut those 3-inch squares in half diagonally once. So when I go to trim this, here is my 4 and my 5. This is the line where I'm going to be sewing. Cardstock goes on the smaller number, and the larger number gets folded onto it. Yep, there's a little bit of a seam here. Just pull that back and trim. And we're going to add our triangle. Matching up just like that, raw edge to raw edge. And I'll put in my pin. This one's on a diagonal, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is my sew line, so I'm going to flip up my triangle, hold it up to the light, make sure that it covers 1/4 of an inch beyond the area of number 5, and it does. It goes all the way past my little dash line and certainly beyond there. So we'll just sew that one more time, and you just keep going all the way to 11. I recommend that you do all 4 pieces, area 1 4 times, and then 1 to 2 4 times, 2 to 3 4 times, instead of doing individual block units like I'm doing. All right, so you're going to just continue in this manner, pressing, trimming. So here's my number 5. Where's number 6? Oh, number 6 is way over here. What do? Well, I'm going to put my cardstock on the lower number, which is 5, and line it up with the line that's number 6. So I'm jumping way over to here. This is still on the lower number, and I'm still pulling over the higher number. Okay? Put that on, and go ahead and trim, and then we'll go ahead and add our first blue, the larger of the blues. That's pretty much it. So as soon as you get all the way around, what you're going to do is you're going to trim your block down to 6 inches. Okay, it really helps to make sure that you're using a really good creative grid ruler, and that you trim these 2 sides, you spin it, and then you can trim those 2 sides. So you see it's right at the 6 line, and this will be 6 inch unfinished, 5.5 finished. Okay, so then the fun begins. You have to rip the paper off. You give it one final press, and then you trim it And then you start ripping all this paper off. And it helps that you changed your length down to 1.6 because this tears away really, really easy on the perforations. Okay, so once we have that, come on over. So once we have these trimmed down to our 6-inch squares, what we're going to do is we're going to piece together our center block, or our centerpiece, and it's going to be these 1.5 by 6-inch strips to the center. And then when we have our other blocks, I know this is not the same color, but when we have our other blocks, we're going to go ahead and sew it to either one of those. Okay, this one's going to go here, and then the other one's going to go there. Get it? And it's going to be, actually it's a 9 patch at this point. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so once you get your blocks done, they should measure 12.5 or 12-inch finished. All right, so we'll see you this Friday. Come pick up your kit. And again, you have until the end of July. Since we're not open July 31st, that Sunday, you have until July 30th to bring in your June twister block, all right, to get July's kit free. So I hope this helps and you're enjoying your summer. Thank you.